All right, today's tutorial is about how to create contrast in your images using a couple of different adjustment tools. Here I've got a picture of a grasshopper, a little bit far away. The camera couldn't get any closer. So I will zoom in, and what this picture needs is a little bit of contrast to increase the darkness and lightness and give more color to the green. One easy way to do it is with just a few clicks. You go up to your adjustments palette. You can click either a curve or the levels, one of the first icons there, the second icon, or the third. It doesn't matter which one because you're not actually going to use it to do what it does. So once you do that, you get this graph, but you also see your layers here. If you don't see your layers, then you need to make those appear by going to Window, look down, and make sure that Layers has a check mark next to it, because part of that is important to this adjustment. So I have my layers. Just above the layer, the top layer, you'll see where it says Lock, Fill 100%, Opacity 100%. You'll see the word Normal. Looking at Normal, if you click on that drop-down menu, you get a very long list of things put into groups. They do different things. We're going to go to the third group that's starting with Overlay, Soft Light, Hard Light, Vivid Light, etc. We'll go to the top one. These are called blending modes. When you choose the overlay blending mode and click it, it gives you contrast. Now, I'm going to turn it off. It's a little extreme here. You probably don't need that much contrast. So what you want to do is be able to adjust that. Again, looking just above the top layer, which should be blue, in this case it's curves, you will see the word opacity 100%, and then you see a drop-down arrow. When you click on that, you get what Photoshop calls a slider. So as you move that back and forth, it adjusts the opacity or the amount that this effect will have on the image. So if I slide it all the way down to 0%, it's the same as if I never did anything. I'm going to move it to 50%, and you see part of the effect. Now I'm going to move it all the way up to 100%, and we'll see the effect that we thought was probably too strong. So what you need to do is take some time, slide the slider down until you think you've got the right amount of contrast. You can always go back and change it later. That's one way you can achieve contrast. Now what I'll do is leave it at about 50%. If you're struggling to achieve a very exact percent, just remember you can always go to the numbered box, highlight it, and type in using the keyboard. I'll type in 60% here. So now I have a 60% effect. So I'm getting 60% of the overlay contrast. So I'll turn it off, and you can see how it adds something to the original picture. Contrast definitely improves it. So another method that you can use is to use a curve, but instead you'll tweak the curve in order to get more contrast. So again, I'll go up to the curves icon in the adjustments. If you don't see this small panel, you need again to go up to Window and make sure that Adjustments has a check mark next to it. In fact, if there's ever any panel or work thing that you're looking for and you don't see it, you probably have to go to the Window menu and make sure that its check mark is there. You can see there are an awful lot of things. Most of them you don't need in there, especially if you have a small display, because they'll just crowd out the space that you need to do your work. So I'm going to go here. Usually you see this Properties, and if I click on the adjustments icon for curves, Properties immediately adopts this graph, and this is what you use to adjust the curve. Now, the curve as it looks is really a diagonal line. It becomes a curve when you click on it and create a point. And when you grab that point, you can push it or pull it. Pulling it down gives a darkening effect. Pushing it up gives a brightening effect. We'll use that for other purposes later. But what you want to do is make 3 points. One right in the center, one towards the top 1/3, or 25% actually, and one at the bottom. I use these intersections that are in the Curves Properties panel. Now, when you have those points created, the one you click on, the one that's active, will be a solid white small square, and the ones that are inactive will have what appears to be a hollow white square with just an outline. It's a very fine detail. You'll become accustomed to looking for it. So what you'll do is you go to the bottom one and you'll click on it. Now it's white. And what I like to do is just move the arrow key down and make the point go with it. So I tap the arrow key about 10 or 12 times. You'll click on the top point that you created. Now it's the solid white box. And I'm going to again hit the arrow key up about 10, 12 times. So now I've achieved contrast. To check your work, you just turn off the layer visibility, which looks something like an eye next to the curves. So I'll turn it off and turn it back on again, and you can see that it's definitely added something to the composition. So those are two methods that give you a lot of flexibility to creating contrast in your compositions. I will mention that there is an icon in your adjustments panel that is called brightness and contrast. And if you do move the contrast slider over, you can achieve something very similar to what the curves will do or the adjustment will do when you use the blending mode of overlay. However, most Photoshop professionals don't like to use this one because it's limited in the amount that you can tweak it. Most people tend to use curves or something related to curves like the blending mode of overlay. Hope that helps you in your next project.